Okay. You joined this game because of SGDQ, so that's not a long time ago. What's your time right now?
My time is 57, a low 57.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of people that are kind of newish or maybe started this game because of SGDQ. So, a lot of newer runners, and it's great to see because with this game you can kind of learn new things.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, trying things on your own, and if you don't like it, you can come up with your own strat. So I love watching newer players because they always go for really interesting things in rooms that you might not know about, and sometimes it's like way easier.
Yeah, true. So one very special thing about this game that makes me really happy speedrunning it, there's like zero RNG involved. So which means as a newer runner, you will always feel your improvement right when you like playing your strats or like just improving your movement in general. You will always feel and see this improvement. So you're not getting held back by any stupid RNG like in most speed games.
Yeah, and now we're in Forsaken City. During the prologue, it was fastest to keep jumping, but after the end of the prologue, you get the dash, and as you can tell, not a lot of jumping as much as there is speeding through. There's many techniques such as hyper dashes, where you kind of dash down right and get a lot of speed. There's like extended hyper dashes where you can stay on the ground long enough for you to get your dash back. And then there's dash jumps, which is a good way to gain height. And there's wave dashes, which basically serves a similar purpose as an extended dash, except you kind of go in the air and land back on the ground with the down right.
So yeah, the only difference between a hyper and a wave dash is that the wave dash can be performed from the air and the hyper only from the ground, which has its strength and weaknesses. Like you can do extended hypers only on bigger platforms, and extended wave dash you can do like literally on every size of platform. But you have to like kind of lose frames because of jumping.
Yeah.
So that was our first level, just a little bit of introduction to basic movement options like Bunnikins already explained. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the second chapter introduces a new mechanic called the dream blocks. So you can expect from this game that in every chapter there's a new mechanic introduced, at least one. And those dream blocks are soon getting activated, and you might want to explain those?
Sorry, what did you want me to explain? I was busy answering or talking about something in chat.
Okay, wanna explain the dream blocks?
Oh yeah, okay, so going in that cutscene with the mirror, Revo activated the dream block. So before, these blocks were just kind of solid stone, but now what you can do is when you dash into it, you keep dashing in whatever direction that you dash into it in that position until you exit the dream block. And then when you exit the dream block, usually people will get their dash back by landing on the ground or getting a refresh crystal, which you might have seen at some point in chapter 1. However, when you exit a dream block, you have your stamina back, meaning you get an extra dash, which you can tell if you have a dash or not by the color of Madeline's hair. If it's the red-orangish color, that means you have one dash. If you have blue, it means you can't dash. But not only is dashing a part of what stamina is, there's also climbing on walls, where you can hold the climb button to kind of latch onto a wall or climb up and down it instead of just moving up and down, instead of just wall jumping. And you can only do that a certain amount of times with enough stamina before you'll start blinking red. And that basically means if you try and climb instead of wall jumping, it'll just force you to wall jump.
There's also a technique called neutral jumping, which we might talk about later in chapter 6,
oh, yeah.
I think.
We could have talked about it at the end of chapter 1, but
yeah,
things are moving a bit too quick.
Yeah, so he just explained the dream blocks, and Revo is already done with chapter 2, so no more dream blocks till chapter 7. So,
Yeah.
but we can see on Podderz screen, like, there's this Madeline, that's like the not really evil part, but worst part from Madeline so far, which
It's
is...
scared.
Yeah, it's scared. It's
It's really interestingly explaining the story of the game, why it's doing what it's doing.
yeah, so Madeline is technically running away from Madeline, and she just wants to like fear Madeline. That's like the basic of it. And she's just copying her movement, chasing her, and you just have to run away from her. On the other side, we are now in chapter 3, which is a hotel, which has has cycle mechanic. So on each room there are those moving enemies, those called our dusk bunnies. They are based on cycles, but there are two kinds of cycles. The one is like, I call it a life cycle, I don't know the official name. When you enter a room, they have a different cycle than when you die on a room and restart it, like just from dying. So you have technically to learn 2 threads for each room, like just the normal entering thread and the death thread. So that makes this chapter kind of frustrating and hard for beginners, and this chapter is definitely a spike in difficulty both for casuals and speedrunners.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned, I like to call you said life cycles, I usually say something like transition cycles, because
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Transition. And I don't know what most of these runners do, but I will sometimes legitimately, if I die on a screen, exit it and go back on to get a desired cycle.
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 screens where I actually do resetting.
Yeah, there are 2 screens where you intentionally retry to get back to the beginning of the screen. Neither of them are for cycles, but for a reason I'll explain later. But for now, we're in the huge mess. The huge mess is one of the most interesting parts of the game. So you see there are these brown boxes, these green books, and these purple towels, and you have to get rid of all 3. You can kind of choose which order you want to get rid of them in, and it can actually affect how some of the paths look in later portions.
Yeah.
So for example, you could have gone to like the top path first, and there would have been the brown boxes there, but since we went bottom right first, we're not going to be seeing brown boxes on this path.
Yeah, so when I start speedrunning this game, I actually realized that the rooms are changed when you're doing them in different orders. So I've got, in the speedrun, in casually, I've got a lot of trouble with an upcoming room, I guess. Yeah, with this one, I've got a lot of trouble because those towels at the bottom, where he just land on, are not there. So I was like, how to beat this room? So now I know, yeah, those get away, and actually not only change this big room, also change those small rooms towards those like switches who gets the big mess, like not anymore big mess.
And somebody asked me about timers in chat. So you see at the top right, there's an in-game timer. That's what we go by in this community. So what some people will do to still have accurate splits, because splits are a pretty good thing to know how you're doing on your run. What people will do is there's a program that can not only do automatic splitting, but can also sync the live split with the in-game timer. Revolution does not have that turned on currently, so we're seeing his real time with loads and stuff like that. However, Podderz left his live split synced to the in-game timer, so that's why you're not seeing it that's why you're seeing it very in sync with his in-game timer and behind Revolution's real timer.
So you might be thinking why we're using in-game timer. There are like 2 simple reasons. First, it's more accurate, like loading times are cut off, and the other might be like it's like fair for every version, because there might be some load time difference on PC compared to like Switch or PS4 or whatever. So I don't know on which console this game is actually, but I know it's for Switch, and I've run actually on Switch. That's why it's pretty good that they're using in-game timer. Oh, actually, okay, cool.
I don't know about Xbox One, but probably, I'm not sure.
So yeah, coming up, Revo is now in the last room of the hotel itself. And now coming up is kind of like a boss fight against Oshiro. Oshiro was always this ghost who was like the owner of this hotel. But yeah, he's now like a ghost, and Madeline makes him upset. So he's actually chasing us because we make him mad.
Yep.
And yeah, pretty reasonable actually.
Yeah.
And actually, this entire Oshiro section, those speedrunners doing them by no time, but actually for beginners of speedrunners and also for casuals, this is a really tough spot of the game. Like,
especially
Oshiro has no mercy.
Yeah, especially I know a few people, including myself, will lament to how terrible this last screen of the level that Revolution is on is.
I did to done a run, and I died 12 times on this screen, and it lose a lot of time. So yeah, Oshiro has no mercy.
More than I'd like to admit. But if you haven't been able to tell from what you saw Revolution doing, the way Oshiro worked there was he kind of tracked your vertical level for a little bit, so your height, and then once that bolt of lightning came out, it would lock his vertical position and then do a horizontal dash across the whole screen. And if he touches you, you die, unless you jump on top of him, in which case that's actually a chance where you can get your dash back.
Yeah. So coming up next is chapter 4, is like most significant for its wind, which is coming up pretty soon. I think most people don't like this chapter casually, because the wind is actually pretty annoying. And the crit is still really annoying in a speedrun, but we know some tricks to deal with it, like casual players don't know, I think. And actually, in my opinion, this chapter is kinda chill compared to the first 3. Like, okay, it's still stressful, but it's not as stressful as chapter 3, chapter 2, and chapter 1. That's for me. Like, I have a lot of...
The thing about it is, it's definitely short. Like, not as short as 1 and 2, but compared to 3, which you just played, it's much shorter. So I think it kind of plays into that, because you see a lot of tricks back to back, like that spike jump. We didn't explain the spike jump that Revo just did there when they did it in chapter 3, because both Revo and Podderz did a spike jump in chapter 3. But the way that works is, hitboxes in this game were designed very weirdly, not necessarily in a bad way, just kind of unique. And spikes actually won't hurt you if you're moving against them. So, or if you're moving away from them. So, since those spikes were facing to the left, if you were able to move to the left, you would not be taking damage from those spikes. And so, using the wall to the right, Revo was able to get to a height where he could wall jump off the corner of the wall. And since he was moving the same way the spikes were facing, the spikes would not hit him, and he could just act as if the spikes weren't there at all.
Yeah,
and,
when I first heard of that, sorry for interrupting you real quick. When I first heard of that, I was like, what the hell? Like, that makes no sense, but okay. But don't get like this distracted that it's called a spike jump, because you're not really jumping from the spikes. You're more jumping from the wall behind the spikes, but while you're moving away, so the spikes has no hurtbox. So that might like confuse some people.
Yeah, what I was going to talk about was somebody in chat mentioned there are no auto-scrollers. A few screens ago, we saw Revo dealing with this moving block. There's no traditional screen scrolling, but there are some screens where you're going to be stuck on a platform and you're just going to have to wait for the platform to get to the other side of the screen. And as you saw on the stage, you do have ways to try and get to the end of the screen sooner than the block makes it to the end of the screen. So there are kind of basically auto-scrollers, but this is Celeste, we can skip them.
Yeah, especially later on in the game, in chapter 7, there are some really tough to execute auto-scroller skips.
Yeah.
But they are really beneficial, like, you save a lot of time if you get it, but they are actually really hard. Maybe we will see some.
I mean, again, I think I pointed this out, I think, at the beginning of the game. Revo on the left here is currently like 2nd place in the world, so...
Really? I thought it's somebody else.
I don't think
did he got a new PB?
I don't think his PB on Speedrun.com is currently updated.
Okay, because...
He's 2nd, though. Because I know that Oddbod keeps saying that he's 3rd, but I think on
Okay.
the boards it shows he's second.
So yeah, the first one is TGH and he's just a beast. We will see him,
Yeah.
I think, later on this week, probably. Like,
I
just
think he's
watch
showing
TGH
tomorrow.
stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely want to see this, because that's some real high-level play. I think he's 1 minute ahead than the second place,
Yeah,
I guess.
which is...
So
I think-
he's literally playing in his own league, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, Revo is definitely going to be catching up soon. I mean, Revo is definitely great at this game. No, percussive, even if Revo wasn't second place, recently YP got beaten by Oddbon, which is why he's still not second. But you might see a really cool momentum boost there from Revo, and that uses one of the new Chapter 5 mechanics, which Revo got into Chapter 5 Mirror Temple, and that is the dash blocks. Chapter 1 had zippers that, in a speedrun, you basically try to skip as much as possible, where whenever you make contact by them with grabbing or stepping on top of them, they would go on a designated path. Dash blocks kind of do that, except it's whenever you dash, they go on whatever their path is.
So yeah, basically every momentum from moving platforms can be added to Madeline's hyper dash or whatever momentum. So that's pretty cool. So you can do a lot of crazy things, especially the taskbot can later do some crazy things in the Theo section, but we will mention that later. So right now on Revo's screen you saw there him controlling a monster for a little bit, and yeah, these monsters are like the main theme of the second part of this chapter. So the first part is pretty short in the speedrun, because like most stuff, like berries, are on pretty long side paths, but we don't see much of that, obviously.
Yeah.
And now he's on the second like part of the mirror temple, which is like inside the mirror, where these monsters are coming, which everything is scary and wants to hurt you.
Yep.
So these monsters have been very interesting mechanics, so they can also activate those switches for you. I don't know why they built that in.
I don't know, but it's definitely appreciated in the speedrun where you see stuff like Revo just did.
Yeah,
Doing
I
a
thought
lot
casually.
of ultras.
I thought casually, like, that should represent that the monsters have somehow a connection to Madeline, because Madeline can activate the switch and the monster can, so they have like kinda a connection to each other. That was my.
The story explains it somewhat, but I don't really remember it.
So yeah, upcoming is a really huge skip, which is called, I don't know, key skip. I call it mirror skip, search skip. I call it mirror skip.
Search skip is the name that most people use, because on the map screen, that was search script by the way, but on the map screen, when you want to select the chapter, you have multiple checkpoints you can choose from, and the checkpoint that this just happens to do is called search. Because in search, you're supposed to look for 2 keys to open 2 key doors so that you can ride a red bubble all the way to past those spikes that you saw Revo do a reverse extended over. So that you can get past the spikes, obviously, but with said reverse extended, you can just get over the spikes, and it saves probably about a minute, if I recall the numbers correctly.
Yeah.
And then you get
probably.
into Theo soon after it, where kind of an escort mission where Theo is stuck in a crystal, and we have to carry him. There's a kind of brown door at the end of each screen that will not open unless Theo is being carried by you or is close enough to the door. Theo can also hit switches though, so you're going to see that. And Theo also carries your momentum when you pick him up, so as you saw there, you can like do a hyper dash. You can throw Theo, do a hyper dash, and then pick up Theo mid hyper dash, and then keep the speed. So,
but believe
even though
me,
you can't dash while holding Theo, you can still move really fast in this section.
But believe me, movement with Theo is not that easy how it looks like on Revo's screen.
It's annoying as hell.
It's pretty weird to throw him, pick him up again, and throw him and pick him up again. Like, it feels like a different game at some point.
It
Just
does, especially
moving fast with Theo is so hard in this game. And
yeah,
it's,
especially with those shockwaves right at the end of the chapter that push you backwards.
yo, So it's really impressive how people are able to execute it. So maybe upcoming is now soon Lake Skip, which is a smaller
Revo
sequence
should
break.
be going for Lake Skip.
What is?
I'm pretty sure Revo's going for Lake Skip, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Do you want to explain it again?
Alright, so I'll go for Lake Skip. So, at the beginning of this chapter, right after these golden feathers, which is basically a free range of movement for however long the feather lasts, we get introduced to this screen where there are crush blocks. Where crush blocks, what you do is you dash into them, and then they charge at whatever side you dashed in. So if you hit them on the left side, they'll dash to the left. You're supposed to use that to get up to the second screen after going underground. But by doing a wall bounce out of water and then a very specific wall bounce on a wall where spikes usually are, you can skip having to go get the crush block, and it saves, I want to say, I don't know the exact amount of time it saves, but it's definitely one of the bigger things in a game where you can't really skip screens outside of stuff like search skip. But,
yeah, but as far as I know, I didn't notice if you mentioned, but it just saves, if you do it perfectly, 4 seconds, around 4 seconds.
Okay.
So it's not that huge, but it's definitely something, like, especially when you go down to this, like, 33, 32, 31, 30 level. 4 seconds can matter a lot, honestly.
Absolutely.
Also something...
Oh, I was gonna say, I was gonna talk about split paths.
Yeah.
I don't know, were you gonna talk about that?
I want to talk about just shortly that in this chapter there are no berries.
Oh yeah.
Because most people think it's just because the developers want to focus on the upcoming, like, boss fight.
But also
So that's
being able to add berries because there's split paths in this section.
Yeah,
so there
true,
are 7
but
sets of split paths here where you can choose whether to go to a screen on the up or down, and then there's a kind of hub screen where you can choose if you want to go back up or go down again. The order here is pretty universally agreed on. I believe the last set, there might be some differences between runners, but down is definitely, I believe, more common. Because you can do something off the pinball bumper here, where if you hold the opposite direction that you dash when you get hit by it, it will super bump you, and it'll send you a lot farther.
yeah, so as far as I know, the last upper screen might be a little bit faster, but the bottom one is definitely easier to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I
And
remember
it's
when I
not
was
that
learning
much
this
of a
game-
difference.
When I was learning this game, I looked at the upper screen and just said no.
Oh, that's the same for me.
But
So
yeah, now... And this is something I actually never explained. I'm going to go over to Podderz screen quickly, who is over in Chapter 4, back in Golden Ridge. You may remember Oshiro from Chapter 3, who would kind of lock onto your vertical position and then dash at you horizontally. That's kind of the same deal with these snowballs. Higher level runners like Revo, the snowballs aren't the most notable thing because, if anything, you can kind of manipulate them to your advantage to get your dash back when you jump on top of them. But similarly to Shiro, they will also track your vertical position and then charge at you from the right side of the screen horizontally. So you have to be really careful of those. And Revo's gonna do this to get a huge speed boost before heading into the battle and fight. In Chapter 6, it's completely different from Chapter 2, where you originally wanted to run away from battle, and now you want to charge Battling as fast as possible. So you're going to kind of just do all the crazy dashing you can to get to where she is on screen and then poke her. And this is actually a bit interesting, because a lot of the way this works is kind of... The game kind of is in your favor a bit. Especially when it comes to hitboxes. So you'll see here, she can't attack you back. It's not just dealing with whatever is the level layout and then getting to her. She can fire a laser, she can fire a set of like these energy balls, but there's always something timed. Like for example, when she fires 2 energy balls back to back, you will have, the first one won't even have a hitbox until the second one appears. So it's a bit interesting to see this section always, especially from a higher level player like Revo, because it looks really sketchy at basically all times.
Yeah, so even in a casual playthrough you might notice these crazy hitboxes, like you're near her and she's already get hit, so that's like crazy, honestly.
Yeah.
And sometimes when she's already holding or already shooting fireball, there's still a window to hit her, even if you got hit already. So that's pretty kind from the game. Like, actually you don't expect something from a game like Celeste, because casually this game is actually really hard.
And so now Revo's getting into the remix portion of the battle and fight, where the blocks on screen are going to be moving up and down, or just in... Not always up and down, they can move left and right in some cases. But for the most part, it's really just moving in back and forth in set patterns. If you remember Chapter 3, we were talking about how the stuff moves on a cycle. That's basically what we're dealing with here, except with platforms.
So yeah, definitely this is the last screen of the battle and fight, and dying here is really costly because like you have to do this entire screen all over again, and the screen is actually really long. So
yeah, you have to use multiple feathers, and feathers are always fairly long to use. Especially when you need to chain feathers, you want to make sure your feather doesn't run out by the time you reach the next one, because otherwise Madeline will exit the feather, and you'll have to watch the animation of Madeline re-entering the feather. And that animation can add up time if you're not careful. But there are no feathers at the end of the chapter because you already have a lot of movement when you get you level up and get 2 dashes now. So now, I mentioned earlier, but I'm gonna just recap again for anybody new that might have joined. When your hair is red, that means you have 1 dash. Your dash refreshes when you're on the ground a certain amount of time after your previous dash, and also when you're in midair, it means you have a dash. When your hair is blue, that means you do not have a dash and you have to land on the ground to refresh your dash, or hit a crystal. But when you level up, you get pink hair, which means you have 2 dashes. So after you dash once with pink hair, you'll go back to the reddish-orange hair.
So the story behind that, I'm not going to spoil it too much because you definitely should play this game casually. Yes. I really recommend it. But what generally happens that like Madeline and Madeline kind of teamed up again.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like you see always. So and the idea or the main theme of this chapter is you are getting through all the chapters before, but now with 2 dashes and like with new, like not new mechanics but new layouts. So we were just at the part of chapter 6 from chapter 7. Now we're at the 500 meter mark, which is there's chapter 1 getting represented in chapter 7 again, and that goes on through every chapter, so you will see some old mechanics again.
Yeah.
But now with 2 dashes, which adds a lot of cool things.
Yeah, it adds a lot of really dumb tricks that I'm really upset exist because I have to try them.
Oh, actually the skip there, that was really cool by Revo. So he just grabbed the zipper before he gets to Madeline to get it out of the way, and then he touched Madeline, so he don't have to do that afterwards. Saves a little bit of time.
Yep. And so now 1,000 meter mark on the mountain is resemblant of Old Sight, Chapter 2. Very nice use of Dream Blocks. Dream Blocks combined with double dashing is kind of broken, in all honesty. You're going to see some crazy stuff in 1,000. It's probably my favorite portion of the summit.
Yeah, actually, when you say that, I never really realized it, but moving with 2 dashes through this Dream Block section is actually a lot of fun.
Yep.
Like, you feel so fast even though you're not that good of a player. That's really cool. Like, you can definitely extend the level of pure fastness. Like, the difference between the top player and the medium player is very huge, but you still feel like fast and like badass actually. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so now 1500 for Revo, back to Resort, back to annoying Dust Bunny cycles. Weedy Ooh. My favorite.
So, for me personally, this is the hardest section in like any percent. Like, maybe not casually, but in a speedrun, for me this is the hardest section. Just because
I definitely agree.
there are two really long rooms. Like the one we just saw and the upcoming one. They are really long, and newer runners are getting frustrated and die here a bunch. It's just the hard part. But with a lot of practice you can get through this very easily.
Absolutely, but if you're like me and you're too traumatized by 1500 to even look at it, you can change your attention over to Podderz, who's currently attempting the search skip in Chapter 5. Again, this skip is basically the most major one in the run, and there we go, he gets it.
Even though it's the major one, it's not really a hard one to execute.
Yeah, there's definitely much harder stuff, but I mean, I would struggle to call anything in this game that easy.
It's not, but compared to most of the stuff, it's easy. I would say, like, backwards extended super jump is easier than a normal extended hyper or extended wave dash for most people.
Nothing in this game works how you think it does. And here we have another kind of major skip from Revo as well. Here's an auto-scroller skip where you're going to do an extended off of that block, and then you're going to try and wall bounce off of that to reach that platform and make it to this screen.
Do you know how much time to save?
I don't know how much time that saves to okay, now you're just showing off, Revo.
Yeah, the same thing I was thinking too, like, why is he doing that? Just to showcase his skill.
Yeah. That's another little mini skip on an auto-scroller. Not as major as the previous one, but still pretty good to learn. And now, Podderz is going to be dealing with Theo. I always like watching how newer runners deal with Theo, because it's a very interesting section where your dash is, even though you can kind of carry your momentum with Theo, while holding Theo, which you're kind of required to do, your dash is restricted, so it's interesting to see how newer players kind of deal with not having to move as fast as they maybe want to.
Yeah, like, top players or top runners, they, like, most of the time, 99% of the Theo sections are looking always the same. But newer runners, they just like do those threads on the fly, kinda, and sometimes they pull off really cool things. Actually, to be honest,
yeah,
which looks for them even more exciting than it would look for us, because like they just how to do this, and then all of a sudden they do something really crazy, and it just feels amazing. Honestly, like doing Theo section with amazing stuff is like the best thing that can happen in this run. Like just for the feeling. It doesn't save that much time probably, but it feels amazing.
And Revo there just got door skip, where you have a small window to go under those two doors instead of hitting the switches to open them.
Actually, did you know that the doors have no hitbox when you hit the switch? Like they have no collision. You can just go through them when you hit the switch. Like even if they're not.
Know that.
I recognize.
You want to know one thing I do know? If you decide to skip the first door and then hit the switch to open the second door won't open.
And the first opens then?
No, the first doesn't open. Like, if you skip the first door but then hit the switch to the second door, nothing happens.
Wow, okay, that's really interesting. So,
but yeah, Podderz is out of Mirror Temple now. Soon, around the same time that Revo exited 1500, the Mirror Temple portion, and is into 3000. So 3000 is the last part of the summit, where a lot of big screens exist, so instead of having checkpoints by screen, you see these flags that they start to count down from 30, and then once you reach the end of the countdown, you're at the top of the mountain and the game's over. But 3000 is kind of a unique section, so it's not a callback to a previous chapter, it's its own thing now. And one thing it does is it introduces vertical wind, so Golden Ridge had winds blowing to the left and to the right. Meanwhile, this can have wind blowing up and down, which can basically raise or lower your gravity. So, like, previously the wind was blowing down, so you got sent to the ground faster and your jumps were shorter. But now the wind's blowing upwards, so you'll get your dash back quicker. Or you'll get your dash back slow. You'll fall slower. That's what I'm trying to say. And you'll jump higher.
You'll fall slower and jump higher, and I think the distance of a dash is also getting extended. Like, not the momentum, but the distance. I think, like, when you dash upwards, I think you will just flow a little bit higher afterwards still.
Maybe.
So,
I don't actually know that one.
3,000 meters is personally the funniest gameplay. Like, playing through this casually in the speedrun is always fun. It might be some frustrating, but every checkpoint you reach it casually feels like, oh, I'm getting closer to this final goal. I'm nearly done this, and the gameplay is just amazing. Like, it's just always fun. Honestly, in my opinion.
Yep. And as Revo is heading near the end, Podderz just reaching the split path portion of Reflection right now, and Revo is nearing the end of the whole game at checkpoint 6. 5 now. But yeah, you're also seeing some checkpoint skips, just because it's really kind of slow to grab some checkpoints. Fortunately, the ones you end up skipping either have no repercussion, like checkpoint 5, where the beginning of the screen has a checkpoint anyway, or something like checkpoint 8, where it's out of the way to grab the flag, and then after checkpoint 8, it's incredibly easy to get to checkpoint 7, so who cares? But yeah. And that right there, that Revo just hit, that checkpoint is actually checkpoint Uno. So, we'll be reaching
So maybe we will see... Nah, we don't see a sub 33, but low 33 is still a really good time.
Absolutely.
Like, props to
Revo for that time.
Like,
really
that
good.
looked really smooth. I think he also didn't die that much. Like, he died barely in the chapter like 3 or 4 times, maybe.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. His death count now is 25, which is
That's actually
pretty
pretty
good. So, GG's to Revolution on the victory. Now we just have Podderz, who is making solid progress through chapter 6. Just hit the end of the split paths. His chair broke in the middle of resort. Saying in chat. That's funny.
Which chair?
Revo's chair that he sits in broke in the middle of chapter.
Interesting.
That's okay. You had to run half of resort standing. I think I did notice a little bit of a pause after chapter 3, but I did not ask him. I did not point it out, but I think I noticed a little bit of a pause after chapter 3. I wonder what happened. Did you fall? No, okay, didn't fall. Alright, no injuries. I'm still kind of interested in that. I don't know. Maybe we'll see if Revo wants to join us for a post-race interview.
Yeah, that would be really chill and cool. Meanwhile, Podderz is like reaching Madeline like right now in this very moment, and now he is fighting against her. So we'll see how it goes.
Battle and Fight is another section, kind of like the Theo section that I mentioned when Podderz was doing it, where watching new players do this is always a treat because of like how different they're gonna take it compared to basically everyone else, even other new runners.
Yeah. I think also an interesting part to watch newer runners is are the 2 big screens in Oshiro's section.
Those
because
are awful everywhere you go, and nobody likes those wherever you go.
Some, me including, using their some like a mixture of casual and speedrun threads just to make things easier. And that's also really interesting to watch, actually. Meanwhile, you can also hear the amazing soundtrack of this game. Like, there are a lot of really good things in this game, like gameplay, story, soundtrack. Even the graphics like fits to this game pretty well, and is still for a pixelated game very detailed at some points.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you see sometimes Madeline breathing very heavily when she like had a tough time.
You see the sweat drops.
Yeah, it adds a nice touch to the game.
Absolutely.
Like, just play this game. I can't point it out that much, but it's just amazing. So this is one of the longest screens. We mentioned earlier, if you die here, you have a hard time to recover and you will lose a bunch of time, but he finally makes it. Like, yeah, some beginners have a hard time with Madeline, I would have to say. Like, I think, especially if you never practice speedrun strats for her, she might be one of the toughest spots in the run. But once you learn them, just a little bit, she's not that tough anymore, because speed strats from Madeline are, as far as I've gone with it, are rather easy than the rest of the run, for me personally.
Yeah, I've noticed that one of the chapters I'm usually happier with when it comes to me doing practice runs is Reflection. Most of the time. Sometimes it does not go as good as you want it to.
And actually this fight also, like, when you play it casually, it feels like forever. Like, I fought her for, I don't know, half of an hour casually, because I'm was so bad casually.
I remember when I was first getting into running this game, before I even looked at the tutorials, when I was just playing it randomly, and I had like a 55, I always thought this section took like 12 years.
Yeah, but like, this fight that it's long doesn't mean it's bad. Like, this fight represents pure epicness. If you watch this, if you read through the story, it makes even more sense why they are fighting. And yeah, it's just a nice, like, chapter 6 and this fight is where every part of the story comes together to one, like, big bang, literally.
Yeah. The only thing that you don't achieve at the end of this chapter is reaching the summit of the mountain, and then you spend the next chapter. You can fill in the blanks, it's pretty simple. But yeah. Podderz is reaching, I think this is the second to last screen of the,
it's the second last
entire fight. So, almost done. Oh no.
Yeah, sometimes you forget these layouts. Like, you just have to run this game to memorize more these layouts. And yeah, but learning this game is actually a lot of fun.
Definitely.
You just get better, as I mentioned in the very beginning of this race. You get better over time, and you always see and feel your improvement, because there's no RNG that holds you back. So whenever you learn the new speed tag and get more consistent with your speed move and for movement, like hypers and stuff and wave dashes, you just get better with time.
Not gonna try pronouncing that name in case I get it way wrong. I'm not sure how new Podderz is to running this game.
As far as I know, he's pretty new.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure he's pretty new. And then Revo is second place. So
yeah, it's not a shame that he's losing right here. Like, that's group stage.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nothing to be ashamed of to lose to.
Also, you're gonna mention that this tournament was also built for newer players. So a lot of newer players got into speedrunning this game just because of this tournament. to just like get more into the community. Like this tournament, like, got the perfect timing. After SGDQ, a lot of people were interested into speedrunning this game, and this tournament is perfect, like open door for every new runner to get into the community and into this game, just learning new people, meet new people through the internet, through this tournament, and like share one hobby. That's speedrunning, literally.
Yeah,
That what
I mean,
connect us.
yeah, this is an all skill levels tournament, and I know even with an all skill levels tournament, there are always going to be people that are like too shy or too like not proud of themselves with their time to enter. So I'm glad to see a lot of people that are entering, even if they know they have a ton of work to do in the game. They just want to participate and have fun. I love seeing that.
Like, I've entered the tournament where I actually, like, on SGDQ, I didn't watch the entire run because I was, like, casually not done yet. Like, I was on the last room of 2,500 meters. So I entered this tournament without actually beating the game yet casually. So, because I want something to push me, and I don't care about my time, I just want to have a fun time. And honestly, speedrun communities are some of the kindest communities out there in the world, in my opinion, as far as I like know, lived, and yeah, you know. So join us if you're interested in. Like, the tournament already started, but that doesn't mean you can still pick up this game. There is a lot of people running this game, also therefore racing this game because of the tournament currently. There's an upcoming 12-hour challenge, I think in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. If you want to pick up the game there, that's also a perfect time for it. So
Yeah.
don't be ashamed to pick up this game. It's an amazing speed game. And especially for people who enjoyed it casually and connect a lot with this game, like I do, because of the story and stuff, it's just a great game. I can't point it out enough.
And again, if you want to get into speedrunning in the game and you've already played it casually and loved it, literally just go to the game options, and near the bottom of the options list, there's a speedrun timer option, and you'll see what the racers are seeing in the top left. So it's insanely accessible. You just need to open the options, put on a timer, and do whatever the heck you want.
And also, if you might be overwhelmed with some of the speed tech, but you're still a decent player in this game, so you don't die that much, I hardly believe, not hardly, but I believe that you can beat this game in under 50 minutes with casual stress, but not dying that much. Like, dying 0 times, you can like probably reach 50, sub 50, which is already a big accomplishment. So,
Okay.
and honestly, those speed techniques might look at some point very overwhelming, but they are not too hard and always fun to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, so Podderz is in Summit, now nearing the end of 1,000, so already finished the Summit face and the 500 section, and then this is the last screen of 1,000, so that's already 3 of the 7 sections, so making good progress. Podderz PB is apparently a 58-minute something. I'll double check what it fully is.
So yeah, definitely beatable, but he has to be quick. Like, there's still a lot in this run.
According to speedrun.com's PB is 58:31, so has about 13 minutes to do the last 4 sections of Summit, which is definitely doable. Although struggling with this screen, this is one of the 2
Yeah, the
screens
2
of 1500s
hardest
I like
screens.
to call I like to call these the rookie killer screens because they
Good
are
name.
just absolutely ruthless. and if you die at any point, you're back to the beginning. And it's a screen where a lot of new people struggle the most.
Also, like, it's so long, and whenever you die, you might get frustrated, and I believe that's also one of the biggest problems for most of the new runners. They get easily frustrated, and
Yes.
kinda give up, lose focus. Like, I have a lot of problems with keeping focus through this game. Like, speedrunning this game is fun and all those cool things, but you're always under pressure. Like, during each chapter, there's no breathing time. And when you try to stream and, like, to perform a good commentary and be entertaining, it's getting really tough. But yeah, so far he's doing a good job with these longer screens. Like the last one, he did pretty well.
And
What he's trying to do there is an extended hyper, not just an hyper. So extended means you keep your dashes, as we mentioned already, like 1,000 of times, it feels like. And he's, for some reason, not getting it. Like, I think he's rushing a little bit too much on it. He just should, like, calm down a little bit for 1 second and then try it again. But this jump is actually kinda hard if you're new to the run. Like, extended hypers are one of the hardest things still for me.
yeah, they can be tricky. Hyper extended and wave dashes to get your dash back. Because as I said, you can't immediately get your dash back if you dash on the ground. You still have to wait out a little bit of a kind of cooldown before your dash is fully back.
Like, you can imagine it like the dash before has to, like, imagine it like it has to run out first before you can get it back. So while you are still in a dashing animation, the game thinks the game can't give you your dash back. So you have to overcome this time but still keep your momentum. So extended is just like delaying your jump a little bit from the dash, and wave dashes, it depends on how high you jump before you do the wave dash. Like, if you do a full jump and then a wave dash, you can, like, immediately press jump after you did the dash input. And if you do a short jump, like just a little bit above the ground, you have to delay it a little bit, but not as much as in normal extended hyper.
Yep.
But wave dash and hyper, I don't know if we mentioned it yet, are exactly the same in terms of speed.
Basically, yeah.
I think we mentioned it at the very beginning. To be honest, but
Podderz
I don't really know.
did not go for the auto-scroller skip, but got through the screen first try. So, that's good.
Yeah, we gotta mention...
Trying to do the skip.
We gotta mention auto-scroller skip is actually really hard. Like,
It is.
it's no
I
shame
can't
to
do it
don't go
ever.
for it.
Oh no. Losing Strawberry there by dying on those spikes. Getting it now. Nice Strawberry.
For the
falling
fans.
after. Strawberries don't mean anything in any percent. They're just entirely for swag. Basically looking cool.
Actually, there are some routes where you just randomly pick up a strawberry.
Yeah.
Like, the first room inside the halter, for example, there's a speedrun set where you do an hyper on one of the bottom platforms, and when you do that hyper, you will automatically get one strawberry.
Yeah.
Or in the first chapter, if you, like, I think it's the 4th or 5th screen, where you do a wall dash bounce, I think that's how it's called. You also get the berry if you don't dash before the wall bounce, because the berry is not fast enough to fly away. So you might see some berries during a run. Actually, I never finished a run, I think, without a berry. Maybe only one.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, but back to Podderz. That's the last screen of the, like, chapter 4 section of chapter 7. It's like the last screens are always from vertical. Yeah, vertical. So
Yeah.
a long screen from the bottom to the top, and Battleon is helping you getting upwards, like that shows the connection between these two. And yeah, as we mentioned earlier, long screens are known that you lose a lot of time if you die, and you might get frustrated and give up, and you know, all the things that can happen inside of you during speedrunning.
$2,500 has a lot of moving blocks in scary places. And we're gonna see key skip here. Didn't mention this when Revo did it. You jump against the spikes at the right time. You jump against the wall at the right position and time, and you can wall jump not off the spikes, but off the wall, and then dash upwards to get the key without using a red bubble, like that.
What you're actually skipping with that is just, normally you have to get down, and is a maze with, like, not really a maze, but you have to get to the very bottom of the room and then up to a bubble that shoots you to the key. And there are moving spikes, and you have to, like, be a little bit, like, aware how you use your dashes to get to the bubble. And yeah, I don't know how much time it saves, but it definitely saves a lot of time if you get it first try.
And not going for door skip, very understandable. It only saves a second and it's very hard, so you usually only see that at a higher level, or if someone just wants to meme.
Yeah, it's actually, I want to mention, it's more like a meme than...
Like, I mean, it's an actual strat. It's just
yeah, that's true, but... I read in some Discord that's a meme, officially now. So
officially.
I just call it a meme.
It has a meme certificate and everything.
Oh no.
Oh no. That's a very unfortunate death at the end there.
So Podderz has a lot of problems with these longer screens, it seems like.
Seems like. It's something, again, we both said this, it's something that newer runners have problems with, is just kind of the endurance of getting through a whole screen quickly.
Yeah, like consistency in the game comes with time. Like, you will die less, you will make less mistakes, but it just takes time. So that's why people who run the game longer have less problems with those longer screens. And yeah, maybe newcomers might be able to do some crazy speed threads at some rooms, but they don't have the consistency to get through these longer rooms like very efficiently.
Yep.
So now the final stretch is again 3000, and unfortunately it seems like he's not going to PB, but that's okay. Like, we don't need on every run a PB in this tournament.
You can still do it. I still believe in him. He has 3 minutes, which this is totally doable.
Yeah.
But who knows what'll happen. It's 3000, which is not a very forgiving segment. This section just loves to abuse the fact that, hey, you can dash twice, have a ton of spikes in really stupid positions. Getting maybe a bit carried away. still not singing. I don't care what chat says. But hey, that was checkpoint. Wait, no. I'm wrong. Which checkpoint is that? Is that 15?
That's 15.
That's
and
15.
That's
Okay.
14.
So we're halfway done with the checkpoint counter.
Yeah, that jump is really tight. It's actually not that tight, but it looks really tight and hard, and you have to be precise and stuff. But yeah,
Yep.
just because of the upward sprint, which makes you force lower, makes it look that it's very tight.
This checkpoint is annoying. Especially when you get over here and you have to do these keys and the upward wind. Oh no, right at the end of that section, and it's a long, difficult section too.
Yeah, that's the hard part about like 3000. There, you're mostly like just touching the walls at the end and have like a hard time to just chill for a second because you're never touching the ground again for like a few minutes, casually, speedrun wise, maybe a few seconds. And like this section again, you have to dash a bunch of times, precise dashes like upwards, downwards, diagonal, and all that stuff without touching the ground and getting a moment to chill, which is casually definitely a challenge, and in the speedrun it can be frustrated.
Yeah. So here at flag 9 now, you saw the skip on flag 8 again. Flag 8 over there to the right, really slow to get. Don't want to get it usually. But having problems with these spikes to the left.
I just get it because I hate this section from 9 to 8, and when I once get it, I never want to do it again.
Yeah, that's fair. 9 is a really hard flag, but fortunately, 8 is usually fairly simple for me at least. Yeah, Podderz is taking it safe after a few of the deaths, which is definitely understandable. Because, I mean, if you're struggling with something, it's definitely good to just try and be as safe with it as you can.
Yeah.
Which, this section is pretty simple, with the just dashing upwards in the spikes, and then that's the last battle and throw. And after using this
Was
feather,
it actually the last one? Yeah, that was the last one.
yeah, this is basically the last actual
Because
screen,
the
since
screen
there's still a
transition happens for whatever reason without the battle and throw.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, it lets you skip checkpoint 5. So, that's good. Yeah, and now, here's probably the last super hard checkpoint, because I don't think 2 and 1 are that bad, but checkpoint 3 is just, like, very annoying to get through.
I've heard a lot of people saying checkpoint 2 is hard for them.
I mean, checkpoint 2 can be challenging, but overall I think checkpoint 3 is more difficult than it.
I doubt them is one of the hardest in the entire 3000. But I have more problems with 2 than 3. I don't know, I barely have problems with 3.
Oh no, taking a death.
That's understandable.
At checkpoint 1, at the beginning of checkpoint 1. But it is at checkpoint 1, so it's going to finish very soon. And there we go, GG to Podderz, finishing with a 10103. Very good job.
He looked like he didn't practice recently, but well done, well done.
Well done.
Definitely.
Well there.
Who is that?
Okay.
What was that?
I'm not quite sure, but... Oh, there we go. Hello.
He might have some problems with his mic, I guess.
Probably. Looks like Podderz is trying to join us for a post-race chat, but having some microphone problems.
One minute, I'll try now.
Oh, there we go.
I just had to get rid of the mic, but.
Okay. Well, GG.
Thanks. I was kind of annoyed with the run, but there's not much you can do.
So, one really quick thing before we get really started. Can you lower your volume of the game? Because you mess up your microphone a little bit. Just to make sure.
Yeah, we can hear your game in the background of your microphone.
I'll just mute it.
Alright.
Alright, so I'm kind of happy with... well, I'm not really too happy with the run, but it's nerves, so what can you do?
Yeah. Not a lot you can do. This game is kind of an animal.
Yeah, it is. Jeez. Just look at my death count, 183.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God. It's like 65 worse than PB.
Be proud of your death count.
Well, kind of happy with the run, but at the same time, like, my movement's really been getting good, but at the same time, I've just been dying a lot, and I really need to get it down. Not really, happy with the death count, but, yeah, it's not much I can do.
Yeah, and that's really what getting better at the game is all about, is you can work on your movement as much as you want, but if you take, like, 20,000 tries to do one room, doesn't matter how fast you reach the end of it, does it? It's really interesting, because it's two mechanics that are so, like, can vary wildly, is your movement and your death count can vary wildly, but they both kind of determine the same thing in such an equal, have such an equal impact on your final time.
Definitely agree. Well, other than that, just, I actually kind of found hypers to be one of my main problems, but I would have to learn to get them consistent. Like, for some reason, when I was been doing a little practice session before the race, and I was just like, okay, I might as well do a couple of hypers to test, but I just couldn't get any going for some reason. Just not really, it's just trying to get it consistent, and it's like, oh my goodness, I just can't get it consistently for some reason. What do you mean? Well, but yeah, thanks to everyone who's been giving the support. It means a lot, especially everyone, but shout out.
Yeah, the chat was really supportive from 3,000, like especially in the ending, they're counting down each flag. That's really kind from the community.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to the chat.
Just shout outs to you guys. Just legendary. But yeah, I'm really happy with the run, but could definitely do much better. Like, really.
Well, everybody believes in you, so
Thanks. Got my next tournament match on Friday, actually, which is kind of like for me, but yeah.
Yeah, next race that you're in is on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah. Probably same time as 15:45, but you know. What can you do?
Happens.
It happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited for that. I have a race happening in the middle of that, but I'm not participating, so I'm not too worried.
Heck. But yeah. Thanks. It's just loading out. Revo and GG. But yeah, GG to everyone who was, well, GG to Revo. He's been like actually good. Well, amazing. By the way, I just want to say this as a brief explanation, but so I kind of got Chip of the Pichu, aka Iwan, to get that nickname, and with the 1111001100, it's basically just PB in binary. I don't know, just felt like it.
That's funny, actually. I like that one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was thinking about the exact same thing. That's the intention of your name.
Yep. Alright. But yeah, I'm happy. I think I'm just gonna head out.
Alright.
Might as well move on to the next race.
Yeah,
Good luck.
and we've not only got one race later, but we've got three. The next race that attention is going to be directed to is at 7 p.m. So in 40 minutes on Speed Gaming 4 is going to be Gamzee Dreamer versus Birdo Prey, which is a race I know a lot of people are very excited for. And then later in the day at 10 and 12 is going to be Flare Bear versus Myantix and Caroline versus Alzarath, respectively.
Pretty good races.
Yeah, a lot of races I'm excited for, so
Yeah,
I definitely recommend sticking around Speed Gaming 4 tonight. But
yeah, I can't
I
watch.
hope everybody enjoys their day if they watch the races or not.
Yeah, I think I might probably just head out because I mean it's just kind of getting like it's like 11:20 here, and I'm overall happy with the race though. Like, GG. GG though.
But yeah, you're gonna head out, so, and I don't think Flesh and I have anything else to say, so we're gonna sign out as well. Make sure if you want to, you can follow the runners and commentators to see when they're streaming on their own. You can always follow all the other Speed Gaming channels to see all the races. Speedgaming.org/schedule will show you what is happening throughout the day, so you can find whatever you want to watch. And there's a lot of tournaments happening for stuff like Mario 3, we have Link's Awakening, so a lot of good stuff on Speed
Is that a
Gaming.
randomizer?
Yeah.
Like, speedrunning is all alive, and speed gaming is definitely a good place to just hang out and watch speedruns. If you wanna see even a more competitive like atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's it for me. So I'll be seeing you guys. I don't know when the next time I'm going to commentate is, because I'm going to be busy the next few days. But yeah, I'll hope it's soon that I get to commentate again.
Yeah,
Alright.
also for me, it was a pleasure to commentate and to be here. It was really funny, and I hope you will all stay tuned for more Celeste and other speedruns on Speed Gaming. And yeah, bye, and good night or good morning, wherever you are.
It was a pleasure having you guys, but I think I'm gonna go. Alright. See ya.
Alright. So,
Bye.
again, Speed Gaming 4 in about 40 minutes is going to be the next race. So I hope to see you in chat during that. Goodbye.
Bye.